There's a real disconnection to feeling. And so when we're looking at the womb space, we need to learn how to do that process. A lot of us actually don't have a process of how to do that. How do we connect to that area? How do we communicate with that area? You know, she's got literally consciousness. And so it's about really coming back to the simpleness of it and really reconnecting you with also your intuition as women. So that in itself has repressed a lot of anger. Because generationally, the patriarchy has never listened to women.
Would childhood sexual abuse or, abuse in any age, I guess, would contribute to any of this, Tharshini?
100%. You know, the thing that saddens me the most when I started doing a lot of this womb work was how many people have gone through sexual abuse. How many women have gone through sexual abuse with family members, parents, siblings? That was quite astonishing for me. And even in the work that I do, because obviously I treat a whole variety of different cultures, but some of the worst sexual abuse that I've seen is being Indian and Sri Lankan culture.
There was two options were given to me. I'm talking about like 5-10 years before, right? So the two options were either you take an oral contraceptive or you can have the device. So that says because the flow was going to stop, it's going to diminish the pain.
Remember, there's a lot of money in this. Endometriosis can cause up to 50% of infertility. So having that sort of high range, think about all of the medication, all of the, fertility drugs. Like women get put onto IVF straight away. They're not even investigated. Even with PCOS, IVF is the only way. That's a lot of sadness for me that women are being told like this because, again, they're not actually checking the whole woman, the whole symptoms, everything that she's experiencing on a physical, mental, spiritual level. We need to look at the whole person, not just specific parts of her and dissect her.
Is it something, the emotional aspect that they have been carried from generations? Is it anything associated with that, the physical pain and the emotions? Is it connected or is it independent of each other?
Just to get like a sort of a whole picture, I think sometimes we focus, like women will go just the spiritual route or they'll go the doctor route, and they're not really combining everything, and so they're only getting a small amount of information. And it is really about getting more in your toolbox. And so for me, I tend to combine sort of the Western medicine, the Eastern medicine of Chinese medicine, and also the womb healing aspect of just getting you connected to that area in more depth.
So it was a deep struggle for many years, even to identify what it is, like even to diagnose.
We now know in scientific research that menstrual blood cells, they hold stem cells. They hold proteins not found anywhere in the body. It can literally regenerate heart cells and brain cells. It's just absolutely incredible. How could that part of us be so dirty? The more we can commune with our blood and look at our blood, feel our blood, see what that looks like, it's holding so many messages for you. I connect to my blood in a really beautiful ritual. Every month I'll do a ritual. And that allows me to finally release everything that I've gone through that month. If I've gone through pain, emotions, anything that's been repressed in my body, maybe it's even ancestral. Sometimes a memory might even pop up.
Hello everyone. Welcome to our Wellbeing and Me podcast. Myself and my co-host Meena, we are so proud to have Dr. Tharshini today with us, who speaks about Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine combined with acupuncture, and especially we are focusing on pelvic womb health combined with energy and spiritual healing. So Dr. Tharshini has touched base many aspects in this episode, especially about being more aware in one's body, especially understanding the womb health, how the emotions and energetic trauma is actually stored in womb and pelvis area, how it influences the hormonal cycle and the womb health, and especially the self-esteem and the identity of a woman. Dr. Tharshini also works with many different age groups of women, handling different aspects of them. And so her insights on this womb healing has been so profound for myself and for my co-host Meena as well. And I believe And I strongly believe this particular episode is going to be eye-opening for many of you who are listening to this. Even if you're not a woman and who has got a mother or a daughter or a sister, this episode will be really valuable. And so please watch this and share this with some of your loved ones as well. So without further ado, let's go into the episode.
Welcome to Wellbeing in Me podcast. Thank you so much for being here. So to start with, what is womb healing? Let's start with the basics.
Yeah, sure. So for me, womb healing, the way I do it anyway, is I do it through light language. Light language is something that I was activated with back in 2018 when I had my spiritual awakening. And during that awakening, I started to actually speak up to 10 different light languages. So it was quite an intense experience, but it allowed me to actually see inside the human body. And one of the biggest messages that I received from Spirit was that you're here to help raise the consciousness of women's wombs. And it was already an area that I was working in as a Chinese medicine doctor, working in sort of the hormone, fertility, perimenopause, menopause area. So it wasn't a hard transition to bringing the healing modality into that. And when we sort of work with light language, we're really going into the depth and looking at the womb in a 5-dimensional awareness. So I'm looking through the tissue, I'm looking through the fascia, I'm looking through the ovaries, I'm looking through the whole structure of that whole pelvis and what's, inside it. And from there, we'll feel into any sort of stagnations, anything that's not moving freely, anything that's also carrying past life memories, trauma, anything from this life as well. So there's a lot that I can sort of feel into that space. And I teach women how to sort of reconnect, feel, and open up that dimension within them.
When you said the transition from traditional Chinese medicine to this wasn't hard, is that because of the energetic connection there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Chinese medicine always says, we connect the mind, body and spirit. They're not in isolation. And so when we're working on, sort of Chinese medicine patterns and diagnosis around these different types of patterns that can happen in hormonal issues or fertility issues, there's a huge spiritual component. And a lot of the organ systems in TCM are connected to different emotions. So emotions can be the cause of, 1,000 diseases in the body. And we term that as stress, in Western medicine. So yeah, Chinese medicine gave me a really great tool in helping me understand the pathways that we're getting blocked and what were the energetic imprints on that and what were also the deeper understanding of the emotion of that organ. And so I was already integrating that with patients. Only my spiritual medicine, when it came to my womb healings, just took me into a deeper level of, breaking down what's really going on in depth.
Right. So when we are talking about emotions, let me go back to the time where, although we want to touch base on women, in mid-age and with the hormonal changes, but I want to talk about the time when they actually come into puberty, right? For some kids, like they say, they feel it very heavy during the period times, like in terms of cramps or, other pain associated with that. And some they don't feel. So is it something with the emotional aspect that they have been carried from generations? Is it anything associated with that, the physical pain and the emotions? Is it connected or is it independent of each other?
Oh, no, it's definitely connected. I mean, when we think about, especially for young girls who get really bad period cramps the first time they get their period, and it can be so varied around what symptoms young girls are getting, but we're seeing that as a common thread now. More and more young girls are getting really heavy flow, really bad clots. Some of them are even getting diagnosed with endometriosis, or they might actually have endometriosis, but it's not really investigated because they're still so young. But yes, all of this can be intergenerational trauma. It can definitely be through epigenetics as well. Things can be carried through our mother line. And, the womb is a container. She's holding all of the memories of our maternal line who were unexpressed emotions, secrets that were hidden within them are hidden in the pelvic bowl. And these young girls are also not learning how to actually process that emotion because some of them, even in their own childhood, were probably carrying a lot of the grief or repressed anger that the family was experiencing or the mother was experiencing, or even just the relationship the mother had to her body and her own hormonal system when she had her period. This is all being imprinted on our daughters. And if our daughters are not being shown how to connect to this area of the body, especially at the first menstrual cycle, which is the first real connection to our womb, then it's going to cause all sorts of havoc. So there needs to be a lot better education around this, around what's going on.
So you touched base one point of endometriosis, which I have. I had got the adenomyosis and endometriosis. It's pretty much similar. And you mean, so for me, my personal experience is I never had any cramps or period pains as I was, in my teens or even as in mid-age, in say, up until 30s, mid-30s. It just picked up after that. So is it because of the accumulated emotions that I haven't been processed, because I didn't know how to process back then? So do you think it would have developed, or is it a precondition, Dr. Tharshini?
They do say it's genetic. So you might have actually had it, but it might have been really mild. It might have been in the superficial layers. And so as time has gone on, because it wasn't being able to be diagnosed, it then developed more and more and more. And that's when we can get to sort of stage 4 of endometriosis, where it can be very chronic, but it's also a systemic inflammatory condition. So if we think about, those times when you're in your 30s, maybe your diet got really bad. Maybe you were eating a lot more inflammatory foods that actually made that worse. So how we're also looking after our health makes a really big difference. We talk a lot around an inflammatory diet so that we can actually help with sort of the symptoms. And it's really hard because when you think about endometriosis, women get lots of different types of symptoms. No one is the same. And so if we're not getting severe pain, it's going to go undiagnosed. We're not going to think about it until later on when we're deciding to go through the fertility journey and so forth, and these things come up. So what were some of your symptoms that you experienced in your 30s?
It's severe pain, during the period and sometimes even before the periods, the menstrual cycle. And I was in a point where I have to take sick leave because I wouldn't want to travel or do. It was, as you mentioned, I think over the period it went really chronic, with any pain suppressant, it didn't really work. And then the only option was to do hysterectomy. So, yeah. So that was my symptom. It was, it was bloating. It was a whole lot associated with that. But I didn't realize, and I believe the diet was major aspect as well as you're saying, I'm just reflecting back, or maybe this is one of the aspects where it got aggravated. Now, for people who are going through, and as you mentioned, these are the symptoms or these are the conditions that we can see quite common in women. What do you think they can do to manage it, or to even to subside that totally?
Great question. But first, I just want to touch base on the hysterectomy part. Just because women actually get a hysterectomy, it doesn't mean that the endometriosis is fully gone from the body. So that needs to be looked at, because it's been told that it's a reproductive issue, and it's not. It's a systemic inflammatory condition, which means that there could be these cells growing in different areas of the body. And a lot of the women don't actually get tested to see where else it could be growing, these endometrial-like cells, but they're not the same cells that grow in the endometrium. They can grow in, the bowels, which can be a really chronic issue for women with endometriosis, where they get a lot of bowel issues, SIBO, inflammatory conditions here. So a really good thing that should be done first is endomapping, where they can actually do transvaginal sort of ultrasound and also MRI to see where else the growth is. Otherwise, you're kind of going in there thinking that just by removing by getting a hysterectomy, it's going to completely get rid of the condition. But again, it's not. Yeah. So just wanted to sort of say that first. And so getting the right diagnosis means that we need to go see the right GP, the right doctor, the right OB, gynecologist, endocrinologist. we need to see people that are actually specialists in endometriosis, because a lot of people are not, and they're not actually, even when they're doing things like surgery, they're not cutting the whole thing out. There can be a lot of ablation that's done, which is the burning of the tissue, and that also creates more inflammation. So sometimes patients don't get that relief, or they get relief very temporarily before it grows back. Of course, there's no surgery that's going to resolve endometriosis completely, because there is no cure yet. But all we can really do is manage the symptoms. So bring down inflammation as much as possible, look at nutrition, have a really good doctor that you're working alongside with. Acupuncture can be also another great tool in endometriosis, seeing pelvic physios. Healings around that space to also work on the physical, mental, and spiritual levels is a really important thing. So you really need a team of people when we think about endometriosis, because your symptoms will change, so much over the years, and you might need something more than at different stages.
All right, that's a very insightful thing that I've heard about today. So definitely I'll work around that as well. So
yeah, I think just symptoms is a great key to tell us, because a lot of women might go, oh, I've got a little bit of pain in the lungs, or I've got a little bit of pain here, but not really thinking it could be endo. So yeah, just really getting the right testing is really important. Finding someone that actually does endo mapping. So really having a look at some doctors that do it in your area or in your state.
Actually, that is what I had done, because I also have got endometriosis, the variation of the adenomyosis, I guess. Yeah. And I have done this endo mapping and found it was the bowel endometriosis, and that's where it is. So it was a deep struggle for many years, even to identify what it is, like even to diagnose, because I think on an average, they say it is 7 years or something in a woman's life before it can be diagnosed. That's what I read somewhere as a stat. Yeah. So I think for me, it took even longer than that. And now with heading into menopause and perimenopause, I'm hoping it is going to slow down and it will, get better. And does it happen like that, Tharshini, or would it aggravate before it settles down?
It's really dependent on each person. It's really hard to gauge. The fluctuation of hormones can sort of exacerbate it and not. Adenomyosis, well, the endometrial-like cells are in the muscle layer of the uterus, but you're saying it was in the bowels? You were saying it was in the bowels as well?
Yes, mine is in the bowels. Yeah.
Adenomyosis can also be linked with endometriosis. There's a really high chance of you having endometriosis as well, right? It's like over 70%. Same with women who've got fibroids. Women develop fibroids, I see a lot in perimenopause, but really it's actually linked to endometriosis as well. So they might have actually had endometriosis too. That's a really high statistics as well. So it's really about getting the right investigation first. And then, yes, there is a lot that we can do around managing symptoms. But also, like I said, it's, seeing the right doctor, seeing the right healthcare provider, supplements, nutrition, herbal medicine, all of these things can work really well together as well. Working on your womb, really massaging that area and expressing the emotion that you've been carrying here. Because if the tissue is actually growing somewhere else in the body, why is it growing like that? Why is it not releasing from where it needs to be? So there's something going on in your body where you're not actually dealing with something. Right? And usually there'll be an a repression of rage, repression of the grief, sorrow, sadness. I've even seen women when I've treated them and we're working on endometriosis or fibroids, they actually then start to see a memory come out of that area or out of the fibroid. And then they'll be like, oh, wow, I did go through a really hard relationship that ended a few years ago. And yes, I did get fibroids around that time, or I did get this sort of condition flare up at that time. So a lot of things in our life can also increase that inflammatory response, because it's a high stress response that's happening in the body, on our mind, body and spirit level. And like I said to you, the womb is a container. She holds all of your memories, yours and your generations. So it's really about first learning how to feel for your body. What are you feeling? What symptoms are you feeling? What emotions is arising in you? Are you allowing yourself to actually slow down to feel? Or Are you able to even ask for support and ask for help? What boundaries are also being crossed or not supported? There's a lot going on here. It's not just sort of like a small one thing. Yeah, it can be very complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is where flower therapy and forest bathing and energy healing helped me a lot, from where I was to where I am now. Definitely, yes. So, with what you are suggesting is it has to be addressed on a multi-dimensional approach, physical, emotional, spiritual, and that is how. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess indirectly I have done that, but probably I need some more healing. That's where I'll be coming to see you. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it'll be really good for you, definitely. And just to get like a sort of a whole picture, I think sometimes we focus, like women will go just the spiritual route or they'll go the doctor route, and they're not really combining everything. And so they're only getting a small amount of information. And it is really about getting more in your toolbox. And so for me, I tend to combine sort of the Western medicine, the Eastern medicine of Chinese medicine, and also the wound healing aspect of just getting you connected to that area in more depth, because you're going to find more comfort in that. When we're thinking about sort of endometriosis, adenomyosis, PCOS even, there's a real disconnection to feeling. And so when we're looking at the womb space, we need to learn how to do that process. A lot of us actually don't have a process of how to do that. How do we connect to that area? How do we communicate with that area? She's got literally consciousness. And so it's about really coming back to the simpleness of it and really reconnecting you with also your intuition as women. Because through the process of going through endometriosis or adenomyosis or even PCOS, it's taken a really long time for you to be heard, to be taken seriously. So that in itself has repressed a lot of anger, because generationally the patriarchy has never listened to women, right? So, if there was a condition when it came to the penis and they were getting some growth and couldn't have sex, there would be a cure within, within a year. But for women, we still don't have a cure.
So the thing is with endometriosis, Dharshini, we are not able to measure the pain. So we don't know like how far it's bearable and what's the acuteness of the pain. So how can one understand that?
It's really about being able to measure the quality of life for a woman. So we shouldn't be getting actually chronic pain when we have our period. That's usually showing us that there's an imbalance with our hormonal system and with our bodies. When it comes to Chinese medicine, we say that the period should be into a full flow. Like it shouldn't be getting these cramps, severe. We might have a bit of distension, maybe slight pain, but it shouldn't be chronic. And when we do go to the doctors and we say we're in pain, they can't measure that. There's no measurement for pain. So then that's why women feel really lost when they leave and not get any sort of support and understanding. But endometriosis is actually the top 5 ranking of the most pain that someone will experience. So if it's in that top 5, that's telling you something with that statement in itself. And so we really need to be able to listen to our bodies around what is actually happening. So our intuition really plays a part. And also when we're going to the doctors, we need to be we need to be giving the right information. So really keeping a log of your symptoms. So writing down, when are you getting the pain? Is it just when you're coming into your period a couple of days before, or are you getting it as well during ovulation, or are you getting it like throughout your whole cycle? Because if that's also happening, it's showing you that there might be growth somewhere else in different parts of the organs. So it doesn't have to be just at the time of your period. Because remember, like the cells for when the growth can happen in different areas. So writing down what that is, and also just writing down how you're feeling, like how is your emotions during that time? Are you feeling really irritated, angry, feeling really lost? You don't really have the support. So keeping a diary is really important. Writing down if you're getting any clots. Are they big? Are they really large? Are they like jelly-like? That's abnormal. That's not normal. So keep a track of what the period looks like, how much you're bleeding, what the color is, the pain, and then go to your doctor and actually find out. Oh, and also another thing is asking your family, like asking your mother, has anyone else had endometriosis? Was anyone ever diagnosed for that? Because we know that it's got that connection to epigenetics. So once you go to the doctor, we can actually tell him exactly what the symptoms are. I think I have endometriosis. I would like to have further testing done. Can I get endomapping done? Are you the provider that's the right doctor for this? Or do you know a specialist who, is in an endocrinologist who specializes in endometriosis and who does surgeries in that area as well? Because again, you're going to have very different surgeons that are going to miss all of the tissue if they're not actually specialized in this area. And then from there, it's like, okay, so then what do we do after that? What are the action steps if I do come, and I do have endometriosis? So have like a real structure around what you're going to say to your doctor so that you can actually walk away and feel like you've been heard. Because like I say, a lot of the time when women come and see me, they've been misdiagnosed, and sometimes they're not diagnosed for like 7 to 10 years, sometimes even 15 years, and they don't know. Or sometimes when they're going through the fertility journey, very late in the journey, they start to realize, okay, well, maybe I can't have a normal pregnancy, and what's going on with that? Or maybe if you've got, maybe it's actually in the ovary and then they cut that out. And then you're not actually, producing enough AHM, or you can't actually then have babies. So we've got to be really well informed as women to find out what's going on. And then from there, there's a huge intuitive component to that, because a lot of us don't know how to listen to our bodies, how to connect to that. So when we're not really connecting to our feminine energy, it causes a host of problems, because the feminine is the yin in Chinese medicine, which is the blood, it's the fluids, it's the deepest, darkest part of you. And when we're going through endometriosis, adenomyosis, PCOS, it's kind of like you're being initiated into the pain. It's your time to go into the darkness, into the soil, the darkness of your pain, your emotions, everything that you've held in your body. And your womb is giving you an opportunity to go, hey, I've been trying to communicate with you for ages, but you're not listening. Because we're living in a world where we're go, go, go. Women are having to, get their career, look after the children, provide. And sometimes they're not in supportive partnerships where the partner is stepping up as well and supporting her. Or we don't know how to ask for that because we're just being told to follow the rule around what a woman is supposed to be in a household, because that's how we were raised by our mothers and grandmothers. But this is not the way. So a lot of us don't know how to express our needs because we just think that we just have to keep going. And to be a good woman means to be quiet, to repress what she's feeling and not burden the family, which is just absolute crap. We need to really listen to all of this. So I don't know if you both relate to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Now, when you're talking about the pain, now, when we go to the doctor, or at least when I went to the doctor, they said, okay, let's stop the flow of the periods. So then there was 2 options were given to me. I'm talking about 5-10 years before, right? So the 2 options were either you take an oral contraceptive or you can have the device. So that says because the flow was going to stop, it's going to diminish the pain. How far that is actually safe for the body?
Is that even true, to be honest? Because if you've got tissue, these cells are growing in other parts of your body, then it's not going to help that, right? Because it's not actually to do with just estrogen. It's not to do with just the hormonal system. They can still grow outside of you getting menopause and removing the hysterectomy as well. So that's not the right diagnosis. These are not the doctors I would be going to. I would be going to a specialist who specializes in endometriosis for this reason, because women are being told not the right information. So they're pulling out, getting a hysterectomy, they're cutting parts of their ovaries out, they're having all these excisions and stuff done, which all can help for sure, but it can't permanently remove it. I think there's thing that's like my endometriosis is going to be permanently removed and it's never going to come back. There's no conclusion to this. All we can really do is manage it. So the better you can actually understand your body by doing, again, the endomapping, the better it is for you to understand if it is anywhere else in the body. It may not be, but it's good to know if it is, because then there might be still small cells somewhere else that then grow and migrate other places in the body later on. And then you're like, oh my God, I didn't know this. The doctor didn't tell me. Okay. So again, you have to go to someone that specializes in this. The GPs aren't trained in this. There's all this new research that's coming out for endometriosis. So a lot of these, doctors are still using the old methods of investigation, and they're not really using the new methods. And remember, there's a lot of money in this. Endometriosis can cause up to 50% of infertility. So having that sort of high range, think about all of the medication, all of the, fertility drugs. Like, women get put onto IVF straight away. They're not even investigated as to what else they can do. It's just like, okay, IVF is the only way. Even with PCOS, IVF is the only way. And that's a lot of sadness for me that women are being told like this, because, again, they're not actually checking the whole woman, the whole symptoms, everything that she's experiencing on a physical, mental, spiritual level. We need to look at the whole person, not just specific parts of her, and dissect her.
Would childhood sexual abuse or abuse in any age, I guess, would contribute to any of this, Tharshini?
100%. 100%. The thing that saddens me the most when I started doing a lot of this womb work was how many people have gone through sexual abuse. How many women have gone through sexual abuse with family members, parents, siblings. That was quite astonishing for me. And even in the work that I do, because obviously I treat a whole variety of different cultures, but some of the worst sexual abuse that I've seen is being Indian and Sri Lankan culture, which I was really surprised about, because a lot of the African heritage has gone through some really horrific things, but it was quite prominent in how much rape was happening through siblings.
Wow.
Yeah, and shame around that. Shame and guilt and, that repression. Again, we weren't able to process it. It's, you're the person that's wrong. And so, again, that shame is also, repressing a whole host of other problems in the body. And it's very low frequency, that emotion. And when we think about sexual abuse, there's a lot of things that have been violated. Our boundaries have been violated physically, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. And so, yeah, the body will store that, and sometimes even create a cyst to, contain all of those emotions in a sort of in a space of the body. It's actually trying to protect you. It's not trying to harm you, but it's trying to bring you into awareness here, because sometimes when the emotion is so big, the body will repress it so that you don't have to deal with it straight away because it's too much. Where's it going to repress? For a lot of the women, cancer and a lot of these medical conditions happen in the heart space and in the uterus. These are the two sacred centers of women. And so these are the two areas that I see a lot of problems in. Cancer, cervical cancer, breast cancer. Yeah. We're giving all of our power away to everybody else. And it's only that when we get sick that we go, hang on, it's about me now. And we don't feel guilty to then think about ourselves because we're so sick by this stage. But we don't want to get to that level, right? So as we go into the darkness of the womb, and I understand that it can be very painful for a lot of women, for me, it's about coming back into this area as a sacred temple, as a sacred space. I think in our culture, being Hindu, as a Hindu myself, the ways that we're taught about this area is really through the patriarchy. We're not allowed to go into temples if we're bleeding. She's dirty. It's looked at as not this spiritual, amazing, potent, powerful thing. And we now know in scientific research that menstrual blood cells, they hold stem cells. They hold proteins not found anywhere in the body. It can literally regenerate heart cells and brain cells. It's just absolutely incredible. How could that part of us be so dirty? It literally creates life. And the more we can commune with our blood and look at our blood, feel our blood, see what that looks like, it's holding so many messages for you. I connect to my blood in a really beautiful ritual. Every month I'll do a ritual. And that allows me to finally release everything that I've gone through that month. If I've gone through pain, emotions, anything that's been repressed in my body, maybe it's even ancestral. Sometimes a memory might even pop up. I really allow myself to, when I bleed, I might get a cup and have a couple of drops or a little bit sort of run into this cup, and then I'll mix it with water in a bucket and pour it back to my plants. And I'll commune with my plants, telling them, thank you to the earth for holding me, for creating stability, for providing the landscapes that brings peace into my heart every time I look outside, for the food that she generates for us that feeds my body to grow into this life. The period blood is the only blood that's not, bled through war, that the blood hasn't been shed through war onto our lands. And menstrual blood is something, as women, if we gave that back to the earth, she would regenerate the earth. She knows that blood. It has so much information for life. And it allows you to reconnect with the earth in a much deeper way, because the womb's portal opens up to the earth and opens up to the cosmos. That's how souls of babies can even enter this area and grow. There's a massive, powerful portal here that's not honored and in its sacredness. And I think even in meditation, when we talk about the sacral chakra and the root chakra and the base chakras, we just don't give it much importance. Like, okay, yes, they're for survival, but yes, we need to harmonize this because it rules our life. However, your heart, your third eye, your crown is the place that you want to go to. But we need to descend. And when we descend, our third eye will commune with our womb space and allow us to see the truth through our inner vision, through our inner portal, which is what Chinese medicine is about. Like when we think about the liver organ in Chinese medicine, it holds this hun. The spirit of the hun is the soul, and it connects to our inner vision, our guidance system, to see forward our purpose, our destiny, where we're going in life. Are we creating the right plan? I mean, are we someone that plans really well in our life, but there's no follow through? Which is part of the gallbladder. It's decisive action. It's courage. Core means heart, whole heart, to have the courage to follow your whole heart. And so these organs also play a role because the liver meridian actually wraps around the genitalia. And so that's why the liver organ, when we let go of our blood, it lets go of all of our emotions, all of our rage, all of our anger, our PMS symptoms that women experience every month. So there's a lot going on underneath the surface. And if we can't see that this body, this technology, this system holds so much information, and it holds your whole life experience, not from just this life, but from your past, from your generations, from all of your future possibilities, from all different dimensions that you can connect to from just this tool. And yet we're not told how to use it. And we're going outside of our bodies to find the information. We're going to these doctors, we're listening to people, and then women feel like, oh, it doesn't feel right. They'll have this intuitive feeling like, I don't think that felt right, or they didn't listen to me. And they're going against that because they've put all of their power towards the patriarchy and the people in these systems guiding them. But a woman's intuition is so much more profound than that. And they'll really only fully experience that in motherhood, when they just know something's wrong with their child and they know something that doesn't make any sense to anyone else, but there's something else within them that actually knows and understands life because they grew them inside them, right? Just like this level of intuition, it lives within you every single day. And your womb always can give you the guidance as to what you need to do now, what to do next, if that person is the right match for you. If that was maybe that was part of the information, but maybe you need to find something else. Like, we need to commune with that area every day. Just like you brush your teeth, it should be a space as women that we talk to every single day when we wake up in the morning. How are you feeling? How are you connecting? What is your message for me? What are you holding? What boundaries were crossed this week that you kind of pushed down and said it's okay, but really it's pissed you off? Right? What are these unmet needs? What are the needs that were unmet as a child from your own mother? Was she there, or did you have to grow up really quickly, which can happen in PCOS? They've got more male sex hormones and androgens and insulin resistance. A lot of this stuff is about them not wanting to step into their feminine, not feeling safe enough to step into their feminine energy. And they've had to be in their masculine in order to help and support the family. And sometimes they had to grow up too quickly because the mother couldn't meet their needs. They had to mother themselves. So there's a lot more psychological issues actually going on underneath the surface than just a condition that's been told to us. But again, it's the whole picture. We need Western medicine, we need Eastern medicine, and we need the intuitive medicine as well of our bodies.
Wow. What you shared now was full of gems, and I was thinking, why is this not taught in school?
Yeah.
Why did we not grow up with this wisdom? As especially for as a girl, when you enter into puberty and get through the hormonal cycle, or knowing all this will empower women from a young age. And I think that is seriously missing in the society. Maybe you should start a school on this, Tharshini.
Yeah, I mean, look, for a little while I was doing little workshops for young girls as well as they get their first period, because, this is your first connection to your womb. And even in our culture, like being Hindu, being Tamil, that was celebrated. As soon as we got my period, there was a samati, we, got dressed up, we were, they did all these beautiful rituals, but my mum couldn't even tell me or explain to me in depth what those rituals meant. It wasn't until I was older that I actually found out and did my own research into why each processes was done. Why are they pouring water on me? Why are they pouring milk? Why am I covered in turmeric? These are really beautiful explanations later on if we can actually understand what's going on. But women don't even know themselves. Mothers don't even know themselves. But again, it's just understanding that as young girls, that first bleed is going to be one of the most powerful things that happens to her. And she's going to be in the biggest shock of her life, because it's going to be the scariest thing that she's going to experience if she has not been fully educated by her mother. And the school system is only going to teach it to you from a Western medicine perspective, hormonally what's going on. But we know that the period is just so much more than just a hormonal thing. It's an emotional experience. That's what can scare us and cause problems. And so if we can come into understanding that this period blood is information, it's a beautiful process that holds so much information, so much intuition, so much just magic. And teaching a young girl how to connect to the womb, how to talk to that space, how to ask the body, how am I feeling? What's going on? You're actually teaching her self-awareness around her own body-informed understanding consent and also understanding what's happening. And as a mother, if you're a mother, you need to know this yourself. And a lot of time you can't teach that because you haven't even been taught about period cycles. So there needs to be a mother-daughter connection. I feel like that's where the education needs to be, where the mother and daughter can come in and do these types of women's circles and things where we can actually honour both of them and the lineage and teach them how to go through this transition, because women need support through every transition of their life. Period cycles will be the first one. Then motherhood will be the next one. And that's another whole, change of identity as well. Then it will be perimenopause and then going into postmenopause. These are major life changes and transitions, and so much happens with our bodies as women. There's a reason why we decided to come onto this planet and be a woman in this lifetime, right? And a lot of us are denying that aspect, going, I don't want to be a woman. I want to keep working like a man. And we're not supposed to. Our bodies were not wired in that way. We were cyclical. So how are you then working with the cycles of nature? Even in Chinese medicine, we say every single organ is connected to a season. And a lot of people are trying to act like summer in winter. They're trying to act like they have so much energy going 100 miles an hour. And wintertime is really about rest. It's about going deep. It's actually about going into all of your darkness and what you've been hiding here. And the period cycle is very much a reflection of winter, when we really need to do the inner processing. The inner alchemy can happen here. The transformation can happen. And it's not always going to be pretty. But if you actually sit with it, that's where the light is. I've had experiences with my womb where I've had cysts that kept coming out of my womb and disappearing, and it was causing chronic pain for me. I was going to doctors and no one could see it. It would come and disappear. And I understood it was all of the ancestry pain, intergenerational trauma that I'd gone through. And I had done already a lot of work with my womb. And then 4 years ago, I think it was about 4 years ago, then I went through this process of this cyst, and it took 9 months to heal. But in that 9 months, I was getting acupuncture, I was doing herbal medicine that helped, but it didn't get me over the line until I went into the deep work with my womb. And I would see millions of these cysts coming out of me, and I could see all this information. I could see all of the babies that had died. I could see all of the women's suppressed emotions, all of the stories they wanted to tell me. And I was just honoring that as I was shedding and letting go and processing. And that's when I was able to really transform my own womb. So women have to not be afraid to go into the darkness. And sometimes if they are afraid, it's good to have that support, someone that can actually guide you into this space, because it's like learning a new language. It really is. But once you know it, the number one comment that I get from women is, I wish I had known this sooner. Why was this not taught to us? Yeah, this is our birthright to know this.
That's right. So with what you explained, Tharshini, when you even mentioned about PCOS, where women are not wanting to step into their feminine, immediately I'm thinking, is that why they develop facial hair? Is there a link like that?
100%. It's more male hormones, right? It's more testosterone. And it's insulin resistance as well. So they're holding on to weight. So they're holding. Their body can't actually let go. And I mean, obviously there's a whole range of symptoms. It's not just one thing. They can have like a lot of fatigue as well. So we've got to really work out what their symptoms are first. But a lot of time, it is really common. Like sometimes they'll have quite a lot of fluid-filled sacs as well, follicles, on their ovaries. So why is the body going into excess like that from the masculine energy? Right? Why is it needing to protect at that level? Why are they not feeling safe in the feminine? What's caused that? What's caused that from childhood? What is the relationship with the mother? We always have to look at the relationship with the mother and what happened in childhood when we're looking at a lot of these gynecological problems that women are experiencing.
So should someone then go to a psychologist and address their emotional trauma and whatever they had dealt in their growing up years?
100%. I mean, that will be amazing. That will still be really supportive. However, that will also only take you to a certain space, a certain level, right? Because again, it's using the mind. So that's very important for patients when they've gone through a lot of sexual abuse trauma and all of that, because I don't claim to be a psychologist. So I always want patients to go get the right support. However, when they do come to me, it's almost like I bridge everything together and they get that breakthrough, because everything that they learnt on that psycho-emotional level, I'm then intertwining it with the body. And all I'm doing is asking questions to patients to make them think, to make them feel. And when you can ask the right question, it can actually take someone into a really deeper part of reflection and understanding. So sometimes we're just not asking the right questions. But again, once we do that and we drop down, we have to feel. Like the number one problem is that women are not feeling. Feeling is a body thing. You can do as much head stuff that you want around just psychology, but that's not going to teach you how to feel the body. Embodiment, a lot of the problem is a lot of people who are teaching a lot of this stuff, they're not embodied. They haven't embodied the experience. They haven't embodied the information. They actually don't live through that. They just understand it on a logical basis. Like you can read something and go, yep, I'm really good at that just by reading it, but you haven't actually intertwined it into your life. You haven't shifted your behaviors and beliefs and systems. If you're in pain, if who you are behind closed doors tells you everything about who you are and how you're processing your life. If things are still disturbing you and you're still feeling pain and trauma, you have to go inwards into the body to feel it into your nervous system and how you've been able to, get into this contraction, which is why a lot of the time with endometriosis, a lot of people have pelvic pain, pelvic inflammation. And so when you're in contraction, you're tight, everything is in pain, everything, your whole body is tense. So trying to relax and open is something that it needs to be learnt too. How to relax the pelvic floor, how to allow your body to become soft so that chi and blood can flow through with more ease. The more we open and we surrender, why surrender is so important is because we move into a state of flow. If we're in a state of flow, everything can move through us. The resistance gets unblocked. Chi and blood starts to get unblocked. If it doesn't, then it's just going to create disease. And so we say in Chinese medicine, it causes blood stagnation, which is pain, which is sort of endometriosis. Obviously, it has lots of different patterns. You might have chi deficiency, you might have dampness, you might have heat, cold, all sorts of stuff. But ultimately, it's blood stasis. So it's stuck. Everything is stuck in the body, and we want movement.
I'm not too sure whether this question is very relevant to what we are discussing, but as you're talking about free flow and movement, Darshini, for someone who's experiencing constipation from their childhood, has it got any link with the womb?
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, you've got to understand that one thing that people forget is that they think that all problems with womb just needs to be the womb. No. What I'm saying to you is the womb is the origin of life. So you can have problems with the womb, but it can be in different areas of your body that you're holding the trauma, like your heart, right? Your emotions. And so the thing is, when we think about constipation and digestion, when we came into this world, your mother was feeding you through your umbilical cord in the womb. How much was she being nourished? Was she being supported? Was she being loved through that process? How was her relationship with dad? Because that's going to impact the way that you're nourished inside the womb and the way that your mother can give to you. And then when you come out into the world, you were then nourished by her breast milk, which is an extension of blood. Right? Then you build your gut microbiome by building your digestion by the foods that you're eating through, pureed vegetables and so forth. But again, it's like teaching you how to digest life, digest your experiences, digest what's going out in the world as a kid. And so we know that digestion is something that's really weak for children when they first come into this world, right? That's why we build it slowly. And so then if you're moving through childhood and your mother is not present with you, maybe she's there, doing the school lunches and things like that, but if she's not present with you, helping you experience your emotions, what's happening or how you're feeling, that's going to impact the way that your digestion is. Hard to let go, isn't it, when we're constipated? Yeah. We can't let go. We're finding it hard to digest our life, our experiences, everything that's happening to us. 50% of our digestion is just literally going into digesting our mind, our intellect. So if we can't digest what's happening in our life, then it will definitely impact your gut. And growing up, it'll create a void in the belly of a lack of nourishment, because nourishment was something that we learned from our mother when we came into this world. She was the one that taught us about self-love. Everything when it comes to love, connection, respect, boundary, like all of this stuff around love, we learn from our mother. How she viewed herself is how we learn for ourselves.
Beautiful. I wish I had contacted you much earlier, Darshini, because I had figured out here and there, but I think now it's all coming together. It's like I'm now able to connect the dots and see why I have, the question I asked in relation to me, I have been suffering from constipation from my childhood, and I was wondering what sort of emotional trauma I would have gone through as a child, and it connects with me now why I have been so in the past and until now, how it's reflecting in my life. So, personally, thank you for bringing it to my awareness why it all happened. Thank you.
Thank you. It's when I work with women, especially with Chinese medicine, with acupuncture in particular, there are these 8 extra vessels that are built in utero before all of your organs are built, these pathways. And so it accesses like your multidimensional self and your genetics as well. It can go into that depth of level, your blueprint, who you are. And usually the 2 main pathways that I use is the Chong and the Ren Mai vessels, which is to do with mother, right? Because a lot of the mother line, when we think about the Ren Mai pathway, actually runs from the mouth down through the center of the midline, through the digestive system, into the uterus. So a lot of this area will have blocks, right? Our heart space, our digestive system, how we're processing everything. And so this is also an area that we want to massage, that we want to connect to, because the front of the body is yin and the back of the body is masculine. It's yang, it's the spinal cord. And the father energy is the one that teaches us how to stand up in the world, grow and move forward and take risks and go after what you want. So what's happening now is that women are too much in the yang and not enough in the yin. And that's what's causing a lot of these, hormonal imbalances as well. Like, how big is it getting now? More and more women are getting hormonal problems. It's getting actually a lot worse. And yes, our environment, our diet, all these things have a correlation to it for sure. But our ability to process our life is getting worse. and we have so many more tools in our pockets. So what is going on? Yeah, and we need to, therefore, we can't separate from the body. More technology is coming through, AI is coming through. We're disengaging from our creative life force. We're using ChatGPT to find out all this information, but we're not using our own intuition to go into the body and figure it out. So we're actually losing ourselves in all of this process, and it's actually going to really affect humankind. So why I'm taking you back to the womb is because she is consciousness. And you can channel information through your womb heart that can give you everything that you need to know about life. That you don't need these computers, you don't need all this information. And the more information that's out there, the more confused you will become. You're trying to digest what everyone's saying, and does it resonate? Right? It's too much. We're just bombarded with so much information. So for me, it's not about me being your doctor or being your specialist or your healer or anything like that. All I'm doing is just teaching you how to remember. How to remember. Your womb remembers. She knows you. She knows everything. I'm just giving you the key to go, hey, this is the way in. And then you allow yourself to blossom through that experience of learning your story, understanding life through these processes, and actually taking you to the next level of your own evolution as women. Because as you approach perimenopause, there's another level of evolution that wants to open through you. And if you're heavily medicated with HRT and estrogen, progesterone, all the synthetic hormones, it's stopping your evolution, because in the suffering, that's how we can also evolve and transform. If we're suppressed with all of these synthetic medication, you're not getting the things that you asked to learn and master in this life on a very conscious level before you came into this world. You had a specific blueprint about what messages and experiences you needed to go through in order to advance as a soul. Yeah. And when I connect to my womb, I can literally connect to my multidimensional self. I'm able to travel and connect to all these different timelines and past lives. I can connect to my womb, and my period blood starts communicating with me, and I just start channeling. You know, I sometimes place my blood as a bindi in my third eye, and it opens up my third eye. Like, there's so much magic and so much journeying that can happen through our menstrual blood, through our womb space, that we're not accessing. You won't need the internet. You won't need TV if you actually start to realize what's living inside you. It's a beautiful sacred temple.
That's amazing. But unfortunately, in mainstream, even when you spoke about HRT, that is the common approach for menopause, or endo, or any period or gyno related issues. Hormones seems to be the quick fix.
Yeah. We don't want women to be in pain. Like, I don't ever say, hey, don't go on HRT, don't do this. Whatever the woman needs and feels that she needs, I will support her 100%. However, first, at least try the natural route to just see what's actually going on with your body, because if you start putting these synthetic hormones in you, it's going to be harder for you to feel. You're actually numbing yourself. And if you've already been numb most of your life, you're going to go to the next stage of that.
So let's say someone has tried all that, naturopathy and Ayurveda, and a lot of healing, alternative healing, and it doesn't help. Then they end up in the HRT. Yeah, is that that's the sequence in which they have to try?
There's no sequence. It's really like however you get initiated into pain, right? Everyone gets initiated in a different way. It's just about you listening to your body. Like, for me, it's about teaching you how to listen to what feels right for you. If you feel like you need surgery, if you need hormones, I'll always ask the woman, place your hand on your heart and womb. Is it a yes or no? You're going to get a strong yes or a strong no. Because it's not about my judgments. If I place my judgments on a woman, I create a karmic loop, and I don't allow her to transform to her highest evolution. So I won't put my karma and my prejudice against someone at all. What I would do for myself would be the natural route. But if that's not working for someone, then it's not working for someone. There's no right or wrong. Like, we're all so individual, and our experiences are so individual, and our bodies are so individual, that there's no perfect method to this. It's why it takes a team of people for you to investigate all these different aspects of self. all these different information that you can get from the right team of experts. Yeah. And then you feel into what feels right for you. Because we can always work with all of it. Just because you're on HIT doesn't mean I can't help you. I help plenty of women who are on medication, on IVF, like all sorts of stuff. That's fine. But all I'm saying is there's another level of evolution that wants to open up in you. So at least still keep working on that. Don't go on the medication and just stop that part of your nature. Still go inwards and connect to what else needs healing. Okay? Because when we heal this, when we heal the womb, we heal generations, 7 generations back for our ancestors and 7 generations for the future children that are coming onto this planet. But to be honest, I think it even goes further back. From what I've seen, it can go much further back. And so that's really powerful. These children that are coming into this planet are wanting to do some amazing things. They don't want to be tied into all of this karmic bondage that we've created for ourselves. And we don't need to be tied into that. We can actually transform that within this lifetime because we have access to the multidimensional parts of our nature. There's no such thing as time. Time's not linear, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think this talking about multidimensional and how we can heal 7 generations before and after, and all of that, I think is very precious, and that needs to be taught to women, and even to get into the heart and the womb and to the lower chakras of our body. I think all of those things, there are a lot of beautiful takeaways from this session. So Tharshini, for people who are going through womb-related issues, or where they want to commit to their full self and embrace their womanhood, even if they want to learn about all of this, how can they contact you?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of my work is actually through Instagram. So you can actually look at me through Instagram. It's Dr._Tharshini. Also, you can go through my website, which is www.drtharshini.com, and also through my email, which is info.drtharshini.com. So nice and simple. It's got my name. And I also have like 4 online workshops. So you can actually there's 4 parts to healing the womb and the pelvic floor. And I take you through different exercises. I bridge TCM. I do Qigong, belly dancing. And also we take you through womb shamanic journey down through your womb. And I do light language activations to help heal that space. So there's 4 activations. And then we go through also into feeling the tissue inside your yoni, feeling for the structures, learning about what you're holding and what emotions are trapped here. And then again, going into these journeys. So they're really good for those of you who are international and who want to do a bit more depth work but can't get to me. But again, I do all of this around the world as well. So I do it online, and you can do it face-to-face with me if you're in Melbourne in Australia. And then you can also be able to get acupuncture from me as well. So acupuncture can be a really great way to help you integrate all of this sort of womb healing stuff as well.
So as we are coming to a close on this podcast, Tharshini, it was amazing talking to you, full of gems, lot of insights. I think to unpack each area, we'll need to do like a series of podcasts with you. I was like, when you are talking about menstrual blood, going to the earth, and I'm like, oh yes, I have read somewhere about feeding the blood to the earth as a fertilizer. And lot of, like how Indu said, lot of dots connected for me, and it was so good. So thank you so much for what you have shared. I feel very blessed. I am sure Indu also feels the same way. And also what I really liked about this session is we had some technical challenges in this session, and it was all nerves a little bit in the beginning, and that's where you did a beautiful meditation for us, the womb meditation, the heart and the womb. It would be lovely if we can do that again to close this session.
Sure, I'd love to. Okay, so let's just get comfortable. If you're not sitting down, please sit down or lie down. And just place your hands upright on your lap or on the sides of your body, and just come into this moment with your body. Let's just take 3 nice, deep, slow breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just sigh it out. As we sigh it out, we actually activate the liver meridian, allowing the liver to let go. Last breath, breathing in. into your belly, all the way out. And then just placing one hand on your womb space and one hand on your heart. And just coming into the presence of your womb and your heart space. As your hands are placed here, I want you to feel the warmth of your hands on these two sacred areas of your body. The two hearts of who you are as a woman. Your womb, the second heart, the container, the anchoring, she holds you, allowing your heart to be steadied and supported. From here, I want you to visualize a cord moving from your heart space to your womb space. This cord is connected to the Bao Mai vessel. In Chinese medicine, we say when the heart is open, this vessel will open, allowing more blood and nutrients to flow down to the womb space. And so in this moment, as we breathe in, we breathe down this vessel. And then breathe out, breathe back up this cord. Just do that a few times now, creating that connection. And feeling your hands, the warmth, really rooting and grounding your body. As you do this, you may even see a color that emerges from your heart to your uterus. What color is this cord? Feel it with your intuition. The first word that comes through or the vision that comes through is the right one. As you breathe, as you connect, we're letting go of control. We're just allowing this movement to clean out this connection. As we do this, we also anchor to another cord that runs from your womb space to your kidneys. This cord is a Bao Lao. And as we do this, this cord goes from your coccyx all the way down into the earth, as if this red cord is being pulled down into Mother Earth's connection, grounding you, rooting you into her depths, reminding you that you are always protected by the earth as she loves you, guides you. And in this moment, if there is anything that you want to let go of emotionally, physically, spiritually, allow your breath to exhale down from the cord of your heart to your uterus, from your uterus to your kidneys, from your kidneys to your coccyx and down into the earth, releasing out all of the gunk, toxins, low frequencies, energetic hooks, blocks, anything that is limiting you from stepping into all of who you are as a woman. As you exhale, I trust my body to let go of what doesn't serve me as I cut all cords and attachments, allowing you to rewire and build your sacred energy. Feel the grounding, the stability, the safety coming into your body. And as you breathe in with the next breath, breathe back up through this red cord as if this red cord is moving into your kidneys, your womb, back up to your heart, out through your crown to the sun, lifting your energy back up, allowing you to connect to the heavens, to the universe, to the light of the sun that penetrates your body, giving you life force, joy, energy, allowing you to remember that you can move forward upon this path, that you are supported and loved by the elements, by your ancestors, by the women that connect to their womb. As each woman connects to the womb, we all connect to each other. In this moment, I want to say I love you to each one of you, and to all of your wombs, I give you a gentle hug. It is powerful to be a woman, and it's time to access all of that power now. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out, and so it is. When you're ready, coming back into this moment and slowly opening your eyes.
That was beautiful. Although I know it's not recording, but I have to sincerely thank you, Tharshini, for touching base many subjects where even as women, I'll be 50 next year. But then I didn't realize many things being a woman, like how much pride we should be and what are the things we need to be, listening to our bodies, and especially with the, like, I think in general, it's not just with the womb healing, like, just being proud of who we are. Although I have learned logically or even through NLP, but I think this was really, I don't know how to say this. I couldn't find any apt words, but it has created something in me, which is pleasant. So thank you. Thanks for being here with us today. Really honored. As Amina mentioned, like, there were many things. As I think it's nothing wrong even to have it as a series, because there's so much one need to explore. And what you have touched base is the overview of what the actual core message is. I even wanted to ask about when someone, because this is not my personal experience, but one of my friend's sister had gone through as a marital rape. She is like, now she's separated and all that, but we think logically that would be the response to whatever has happened in their life. But how one needs to go, as you mentioned, like, most of the rape happens in the Indian and the Sri Lankan society, and she's from India, but and this can happen in any culture as well. But as a woman, how she needs to protect herself from all these things, because I'm also thinking, when a child is born, so now when my son, like, say in the near future, and even Mina's son, like, we have both of similar age group kids, like they are 24 and 25. And when they get to the next level of having a girl child, say, for instance, as a grandmother, like, what are all the awareness I need to be? So then I have to protect that kid, because even by the touch, there could be some sort of trauma that can happen as a child. We never know, like, how people are handling a child, like, as a child. So I'm thinking in that level, as how we need to be really aware, so at least the next generation is more aware, and to protect themselves, not just with the physical, but emotional, spiritually, and to carry them that not as a burden for themselves, for the family, or for themselves, but to really feel pride about for who they are. Yeah. I really want to take this conversation further personally, and I believe even Meena would agree to that.
It's a very powerful conversation. I mean, the problem is with this generation of young girls as well, like, they're just so sexualized. And also, to touch base on the son, right? If a woman has been raped and mistreated by her husband, that imprint is in the womb, and that's where the child is growing into, especially a boy. So you can imagine what that boy is already feeling of rejection from the mother, because men hurt you. That's been imprinting on the child. So raising very aware boys into this next generation is also really powerful. So women have to heal the womb, because they're being processed with all of the intergenerational trauma of men and how they hurt women.
Yeah. And I heard, like, her relationship with her son is not as great as she would want it to be. Maybe there's a psychological thing that's there.
She needs to heal. She needs to heal the rape in order to heal her relationship with her son, because her son will be feeling that energetically.
Yeah. I could now understand why this is all happening, and why. Yeah, I think it's a whole lot of things, as I just mentioned, like, we need to take it further. Depending on your availability, we will.
This is one of the reasons why I'm now teaching this to even Chinese medicine doctors, like the women, and I've been creating, like, women's circles to actually help them access that. And I realized that there was they're all dying for this. All the women are just like, oh my God, like, we want to feel the sisterhood. We want to come back to this sacred place, because it's missing, because women need to work together. We need to come in community. And when we do womb work together, it becomes this really powerful portal to heal much faster. And so a lot of the time, the facilitators that hold, circles and stuff are not embodied, or don't understand it, because they haven't actually processed it fully themselves. And to hold higher levels of this sort of work means you have to be available to go into your darkness over and over and over again. You need to be able to know that in that is going to be all this information that's going to come through. And for that young girl, for, your granddaughter, you are connected to her because she was first made inside of in your grandmother's womb, right? You're all three generations are connected. So there will be a natural, beautiful thing that when you as you heal, that's going to heal her.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's really, you don't need to do anything. Like the more you work on yourself, children are picking up on your energy. All the things that you're not saying, they feel and they interpret in their energy and in their bodies. So that's why, like, even for me with children, like, children absolutely love me. They'll come in, and I've been told so many times you should just work with kids because they see my energy. Because I'm so connected to the sacral chakra. It's the playful, it's the creative energy. When that's open, it's a different light that people are attracted to within you. It's not something that you have to go and chase. I pull into my field now. I pull what is in alignment for me. And so it becomes a very different way of healing multidimensionally through the field. We don't have to work so hard. I think there's this misconception that it has to be really hard, but it can actually be really gentle and beautiful. Even in the sadness, it can be very beautiful.
Okay. I will let Meena to officially close because mine is not recorded. So
what you said was amazing. Like, it was a heartfelt share. And I very much, resonate with what Indu said. And, that is my impression as well. Because as a young girl growing up in India, going through sexual abuse and going through trauma of different kinds, but then being resilient and being the champion I am, how I have overcome, and so much it was masculine drive, go. And then I learned how to slow down by doing flower therapy and forest bathing and energy healing and all of that. So what you shared with us made a lot of sense, Tharshini. It was not just, we didn't just talk about PCOS, endometriosis, adenomyosis, and all these gynecological problems. It was much more bigger than that. It clearly, you defined what it means to be a woman and how to embrace that womanhood and be proud about it. Yeah, and heal yourself, which will heal the generations before and the generations after. So I'm very excited and very thankful that we did this beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been beautiful. Thank you so much to both of you. I think these are really important conversations. So I'm just very thankful that I can do it with, people of our culture as well. It's really lovely.